It seems like the same old Canon R7 II information keeps doing the rounds. The same leaked specifications, passed about like a dodgy USB stick at a photo club. But the latest report actually drops a few hints if you know where to look. I'll walk you through it all step by step, and if you're serious about staying up to date on the latest camera gear, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It helps this channel grow, and it keeps you in the loop, like the Northern Line at rush hour. Fast, unpredictable, and not without the occasional sense of doom. Bit like firmware updates, really. Canon rumors put it rather well. The stuff that hits our inbox about the Canon EOS R7 Mark II and the EOS R7V are all over the place. So much so that I almost gave this video a miss. We keep getting the same old rumored specifications rehashed with the same old enthusiasm as a lukewarm cup of tea. And depending on which site is reporting these specs, they're either slightly changed a little bit or they're completely different. And that's been the frustration. So when Canon Rumors put out this story today, at first I gave it a pass because there really wasn't anything of, well, substance in terms of a difference in the rumored specifications for the R7 II or the R7V. Now the R7V is an exciting camera based on what Canon's done with the EOS RV line that we saw with the R50V, turning it into a rather challenging camera to the Sony ZV series of cameras. So if this article, the seed, the idea to create this video, if that article doesn't really give us much, so why then am I doing this video? Well, it's about specs, right? No. A leaked announcement? New schedule? Also no. It's actually about the source of the information. A couple of days ago, we received information from a retailer that we know, but they have had some overzealous employees in the past. We don't know this particular source very well, but the way the information was presented, and that it wasn't sent anonymously, we think made it worth posting. And this has to be the trickiest part of covering rumors. Knowing when to run a story, knowing if you've been able to validate it. And sometimes, as in this case, what matters here isn't the message itself, but the messenger. And Craig Blair, the author of this story at Canon Rumors, got information from a retailer. Why is that significant? Well, once retailers start getting briefed, once they start getting information, well, that usually indicates that an announcement isn't so far behind, which leads us to think that we could be looking at a summer launch. And this isn't completely unprecedented. Now, if we go back several years ago, we didn't really get any launches in the summertime. They usually happened starting mid-January and then kind of tapered off by the end of May. Well, that all changed about 5 years ago. We started getting major announcements in the summer, and last summer we got the announcement of the Canon EOS R5 Mark II, a major announcement, and the R1. And we got some other announcement throughout the summer as well. To have an announcement of the R7 Mark II, well, that's certainly possible. I mean, look, we got the R10. What was it, the R10 and the R7? That was announced back in June many years ago. So it's certainly possible. But I hope it's not going to happen while I'm in Vancouver, which I'm going to be there for the first week of July. It is the holiday weekend, so most likely I'm safe, because the last few times I've been in Vancouver, well, they've had announcements while I was there. And the last time I was there, I ended up covering 3 announcements from the middle of the woods. Picture me mid-hike with a laptop balanced on my knees and enough reception to stream 1 pixel at a time. Well, that wasn't actually too far off. Here's a picture of me on the beach, live streaming over cellular. This camera has my interests. The R7 II, the R7V as well. I believe it's going to have a digic accelerator. This makes sense. Canon's not going to give it to the R5 to the R1 and not give it to the R7 II, the flagship APS-C camera. Just look what Sony did with their not digic accelerator, their AI processing unit. That's gone in every single camera since the announcement of the A7R5, a top-end camera that debuted with this chip. we're also going to get a new sensor. And I do believe the ability to shoot in electronic mode without any discernible rolling shutter. And that is a really big deal. It allows us to take this camera seriously, because the limits of the mechanical shutter, when we see what the competition is doing, well, that's a big deal. But some of the other specifications, well, they're a little bit bold. Canon Log 2, well, getting a new sensor, yes, but getting a sensor with enough dynamic range to justify Canon Log 2, because Canon Log 2 does require a minimum of 15 stops of dynamic range, or 15 plus stops of dynamic range. But please, Canon, do us a favor and at least give us one, just one, CF Express Type B card slot. This isn't just one of those lowly APS-C cameras. It's a flagship APS-C camera, and it's worthy of this. Just look at all your wildlife photographers that don't have the budget for the R1 and the 400mm f2.8. I'm not asking for the moon here, and neither is anybody else. Just something that doesn't buckle under the pressure of 4K 60 or 40 frames per second, 30 frames per second, whatever you end up putting in this camera. I am very interested in the R7 II. I've already got a terrific lens to pair it up against with it, and that's the RF 100 to 500mm. I really do love this lens. And you know, the forecast for this weekend has improved, and my health has improved. So I want to get out there and shoot with this lens again. Now it's later in spring, almost summer, and the wildlife patterns are a little bit different. I was out a few weeks ago and there wasn't a whole lot close by. And yes, it's a zoom, but see, the nature of using a lens like this is not trying to take something that's far away and bring it close. No, it's getting close to something. So when you do have a shot, there's no atmospheric turbulence or air noise to get in the way. And I know air noise isn't the term, but I couldn't think of the other term. But basically, the greater the distance between you and your subject, after a certain point, the amount of air between you and them, well, it reduces the sharpness and the clarity. I like to sit in a blind and just wait for things to show up. But with a lot of birds having children, they're kind of tied to their nests. So you might get a few out there while foraging for food, but the best thing is to identify their changing patterns and where they are. And that's what I've got to locate, because I have a sense of where they're going to be and not where they were. And that matters a lot because I'm testing an autofocus issue and I'm trying to keep things relatively the same. But back to what I was saying about the R7 II. The R7 II with this lens here, well, it changes it from a 100 to 500mm with a 160 to 800mm. All without cropping, although it's a cropped sensor. Now, I love this lens. I think this is terrific, and to be paired with the R7, and I know it's not a cheap lens, but there are other options too with the R7. Look at all that EF glass, like the 400mm f5.6. There are ways. I know a lot of people don't like using old EF glass, but when you're looking at the capabilities of these lenses, and that's the big thing. Sure, they're older glass, but it's still really terrific glass. And I probably should have kept my 100 to 400. A terrific lens. So what are your thoughts? If you're looking at buying the R7 II, or if you have the R7 Mark I now, what lenses do you shoot with it most of the time? I've heard from some of you saying that you love the 100 to 500mm. It's your favorite lens. Do any of you have the 400mm f2.8? What about the 200 to 800mm? Let me know what you use and shoot with currently and your thoughts on the R7 II and your thoughts on the specifications. I'm really curious. I get a sense that we're probably not more than 2 months away from an announcement. It could happen in the fall, but I just get that creaky feeling that if retailers are providing information, it's within 2 months. So that's good news. It would give us a summer announcement, something to talk about. I just have one other thing I want to mention. Won't take long. If you're part of the 1% of the 1% that likes to know what goes on behind the scenes, then go ahead and click on the join button there, and it'll show you various membership levels. The first level, it provides you with loyalty badges and priority comment review. So whenever I go to look at the comments that you're prioritized, I get to see yours first. And under the second option, the Insider, at $9.99 a month, you actually get to go behind the scenes. I produce Insider videos weekly. I also do private live streams for the Insiders where we can actually have conversations, bring you into the stream, and maybe give you training. So if you want to do a live stream with me someday for a product announcement, this is a good way to do that intake. Anyhow, thank you so much for tuning in. Have yourself a great day, and we'll see you again soon.